All right, so the US presidential debate was a couple days ago, depending on when you're watching this. And it has left a few people, let's say, not feeling so great about the future. So we need a little bit of good news. Now, I was not sure what to talk about until one of my Patreon supporters was posting some statistics in our Discord. And the statistics are a little bit hard to figure out, but it seems that only about 1 to maybe 2.5% of the entire world is really aware of artificial intelligence. Again, there's not really any good global statistics, so we're looking for proxies. But anyways, whenever you slice and dice the numbers, it looks like about 1% to 2.5% at kind of the high end are either aware of or regular users of generative AI. And here we are talking about how AGI is going to be here. Some of the top minds are saying 2027 looks like is where consensus is settling. So I was a little bit early. But what I want to say is that if you're watching this video, you are a member of the cutting edge, the very avant-garde, we are on the bleeding edge of technology. And so what am I trying to say? There's an adoption bell curve. So there's a book called Crossing the Chasm, which if you haven't heard of that or read it, you might find it pretty interesting. It's ostensibly for business people, for startup founders basically. But if you just read the first couple chapters, you'll understand what I mean, because there's what's called an adoption curve, which is the rate at which new products or services are adopted by the marketplace. And the first 15% is bleeding edge. And we're in the first 2.5%. We are so early. And so the good news is, guys, if only 1 to 2% of the entire world is even really aware of AI and what it can do and what's coming, what's going to happen when that doubles? When it gets to 4 or 5%, when it doubles again, gets to 10%, when it doubles again, gets to 20%, when it doubles again, gets to 40%, doubles again, gets to 80%. So we have several more doublings of awareness and adoption to go before we even get to full saturation of the marketplace. And so when I take a step back and look at, okay, what is the penetration of AI? What is the adoption of AI versus capabilities? Because it takes a few years for adoption to go up. And in those few years, the capabilities are also going to go up. So guys, everything is going to come to a head within about the next 5 years. Usually adoption cycles in technology, usually it goes from brand new avant-garde to establishment in about 7 years. So I'm basing that based on my past experience in IT, automation, and cloud. So sorry, I'm out of breath. I'm still recovering from a sinus infection. So my past life as a data center enterprise cloud engineer was in virtualization. And so when I started my IT career in 2007, virtualization was like a fad. It was less than 1% of the marketplace. By 2009, it was starting to be looked at by a few small shops. By 2014, it was everywhere. It was no longer can we do cloud? Can we do private cloud? Virtualization was mandatory by 2014. And then of course it was the center of my career and how I made, all my money until I switched to YouTube and AI a few years later. So from the time of people not knowing what virtualization was and wondering whether or not you could even ignore it to the time that it became mandatory was 2007 to about 2014. And then the following 7 years, it just became more mature. So that's about the span of my entire IT career from 2007 to 2021. And so if you say all right, we're at that beginning phase where people are, like where we're at right now reminds me of exactly 2007 with virtualization. People are like, oh, it's this new thing. It's on the horizon. It's probably like, there's still people unironically saying like, it's not going to be a thing. We can ignore it. It's all just hype. Give it 7 years, maximum. 7 years tops to become absolutely mandatory for every industry, every government, every business. So that's just good news. Now, of course, also timelines seem to be compressing right now. So this is what I don't know, and I don't think anyone knows. Is it going to be different this time? Because the 7-year adoption cycle, this is true across multiple industries. It's not just technology. Across the healthcare industry, the rule of thumb is it also takes 7 years for any new standards or best practices to be fully implemented and deployed. So I don't know why it's 7 years, but the 7-year adoption cycle seems to be pretty universal. So, okay, if 2023 or maybe 2022 was year 1, year 0 because of ChatGPT's breakout moment, you might say that we've got like 5 or 6 years left. So either way, it's all still looking like by 2030, it's going to be everything. It's going to be dead center. It's going to be unignorable. It's going to be mandatory, which of course 2030 is also when we're thinking that like there's pretty strong consensus we're going to have AGI by then, which might accelerate the timelines. I don't know. So I know that sometimes I throw a bucket of cold water on the conversation because a lot of you just like, let's get it over with. And don't get me wrong, I'm on your side. I do want it to be here and to get adopted, but I also try and remain realistic. So anyways, that's your good news shot in the arm for the day. We still got a couple of years ahead of us until it really takes off, but this is the next big thing. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir. Anyways, thanks for watching. Bye.